due to the stay-at-home order. Everyone just staying in, consuming everything at home, not at the office, not at places of work, not at recreation, not at events, but at the house. So we saw a lot of that trash there curbside. And back up to recycling, the $450,000 process the curbside recycled materials. We'll get into that a little bit later towards the end of the presentation. But that's really my quick cliff notes here for curbside service. I'll pause for questions and then go on to see what happened in the commercial and industrial sectors.
Mr. Chair. Sorry, maybe we lost the audio. I had a quick question. I was curious if Republic has seen a copy of the statistically valid citywide survey. There were some interesting results about recycling in there, and I just thought I'd mention that. If you haven't seen that, I can get you connected with Dave Miles, but was curious if different parts of the city have different, even though it's 97%, if different parts of the city have different percentages that adopt recycling.
Mr. Chair, Councilwoman Strader, thank you for bringing that up. I personally have not seen the survey results. I would be thrilled to have a copy of that and look at it. That is one theory, and probably valid too, that certain areas and demographics of the city is where you might see that 3%. Some areas recycle better than other areas. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so what happened on the business side? And by commercial, we mean businesses that have a dumpster, the more traditional dumpsters you see, the 3, 6, and 8 yards. And by industrial, we mean more construction, large boxes that roll onto the truck and are taken off site. So you see those at construction sites, also large compactors at big box retail stores. And so that's kind of why I have them on one slide here. They're both in the commercial business sector, but and they both kind of had the same results. Everything increased, and well, almost everything increased in commercial trash, roll-off trash, roll-off recycling. All those increased over the course of the year. But you'll see in Q3, for all of them, they did take a dip. And most notably is commercial recycled tons. So that's where we had our biggest drop off for the year. You'll see in the top left, commercial recycled tons, second quarter, it was off and running, and it looked like it was going to go through the roof. And then Q3, everything closed down. Well, a lot of things, non-essential businesses closed down. And so you see that dramatic drop there in commercial recycling. You see it a little bit in commercial trash tons, excuse me, but not a lot, because there were still essential businesses open, and eventually restaurants and retail stores opened under different procedures. So maybe you couldn't go into the restaurant, but you could get the takeout. So they were still open and operational and didn't have that dive, but they also didn't recycle as much during that time, but they still did produce nearly the same amount of trash. And overall, for the year, commercial trash increased almost 7.5%. And if it wasn't for that COVID, commercial recycling probably would have done better in 2020 compared to 2019. You see, they only fell off by 1.3%. Meanwhile, industrially, both trash and recycling tons increased. Questions about the commercial or industrial fiscal year 2020?
Mr. Chair, Conrad, did on the recycling, Western Recycling, did they close down during the first of the shutdowns?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Keating, I'm racking my brain right now about that. Perhaps Rochelle could jump in here. I know certain things like HHW closed, but I can't recall if Western did for a period of time or not. So, someone can please correct me.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Keating and Conrad, no, Western Recycling stayed open the entire time.
Okay.
So they just implemented safe protocols and kept the line going the whole time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rochelle. Okay. So what did pricing look like over the year? And well, you can see in 2020, it kind of leveled off. It did, cost per ton was $93 and it looks like 20 some odd cents, which was about what, 50 cents lower than, or cost more, higher costs than 2019. So it was a little more expensive, but it's good to see that flatten out like it did. If going back to 2017, when the ban on plastics first came out in 2018, that big drop from $1.59 to negative almost 69 over the course of that year, and then dropped a little bit more in 2019, and then kind of leveled off for us in 2020. And so hopefully that is the floor. And if I look in historically, the last time we had a drop like this back between 2012 and 2017, after it leveled off, it took a good 2 years for it to come back. So I would think if this is our floor for this last event of the plastics ban, it's going to take another 4 years for it to really improve and show some positive numbers, if at all. But it is good to see that bleeding stop. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the beginning of 2020, when the pricing was much worse than it is today, that annual average would have been higher. It would have outperformed 2019. So it was a really lousy beginning of the year that hurt that average, but things are looking better. I think it's closer to 78 a ton to processed material. So hopefully that's a trend we continue to see. And this is just what the math comes out to: price per ton times commercial recycling tons collected, and 454,000 for the year, and that was about 30,000 more than the previous year. Again, hopefully this is a sign of things leveling out and hopefully improving in years to come. Question on that? Okay, we'll jump over to household hazardous waste. And I'll just put a quick note out there about COVID-19, and back to Q3, we did shut down the mobile site that's there on Mondays for the month of April. It could have been a week or two beyond that, but we did not allow them to set up or customers to come in during that time. So we didn't get any collection for one whole month. But even going back to Q1 and Q2, you can see a downward trend in those quarters pre-COVID. And then obviously Q3 and Q4, it never fully rebounded. So for the year, we saw a 14% decrease in visitors and 12% decrease in tons collected. So it for the time being, it seems like COVID or not, we're getting fewer visitors than we have and well, compared to last year and probably the year before that. But that's not a terrible thing either, because we have been so slammed in years that we all know the effects of that when a parking lot gets full. I'm going to pat myself on the back here because, well, it's a long time coming, but the commission's asked me many times the status of CRTs and collection of those, and if it's decreased. And I finally got around to taking a sample, albeit a short sample or a small sample. It was a month of August report, and I happened to recall this request and went back a couple years and just compared the month of August to see if I could grab a trend or not. And as far as CRTs, they don't seem to be decreasing. If anything, they're increasing. What I found was, I have the numbers just not on this slide, but 2019 saw fewer CRTs than 2018, but then it spiked up again in 2018. And so that was kind of an up and down. And for e-waste overall, if anything, it's trending upwards. The last 3 years, that particular month I sampled, there was an increase year over year of a couple hundred. So anyway, I'll also add to that. If it's not CRTs and it's not e-waste, then what is it? So perhaps more research needs to be done on the materials going in there and see what is it that's not coming in there, or is it all because of visitor decrease that the tons are decreasing, or are people bringing in containers less full? Like, did they used to bring in half full bottles or paint jugs, and now they're bringing in a quarter full paint cans and bottles of pesticides, and it just weighs less? Is it packaging? Is it weighing less, lighter weight materials? So that's kind of some ideas I was kicking around. Questions? I think I have one last slide. Okay. And then just some miscellaneous notes for fiscal year 2020. The hand-in-hand cardboard collection box at the Meridian transfer station outperformed by miles what it's done in the past. 143 hauls, 91 tons, and over $5,000 in rebates. So that's it was just really successful. I think this year, no, every quarter this year outperformed all of 2019, or 3/4 of 2019. So it just did good. It was solid every single quarter this year, and provided a pretty nice rebate there. And curbside collection, both glass and grass, but first we'll cover glass. We ended the year at 150 curbside subscribers, which is funny because that number doesn't budge. It's plus or minus 1 or 2 quarter to quarter to quarter. It's just those 150 subscribers are committed, and I don't know, we can't seem to grow it either, but it's just funny to me. It seemed like it was at 150 when we started the program, and 3-4 years later it's still there. And then we also have the drop sites there at the Meridian transfer station, and overall we collected 554 yards of glass and had 4 hauls to Momentum Recycling, and each haul averaged 34 tons. And then grass subscription, curbside, 392 subscribers. And I believe that was I believe that's an addition of about 70 to 80 subscribers from the previous year. So a grass program is growing every year and collecting more tons. So we collected 240 tons over the fiscal year, which really, that's a seasonal program. So it runs April through September. So it's not a full year program, but it did increase tons to 240 for the year. And that is my report.
Conrad, is there any questions by any of the commissioners to the information that's been presented to us?
Thank you, Conrad. That's awesome. A lot of good information. Still surprising that CRTs they keep finding them. I don't know how that happens, but yeah, that's great.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Nelson, thank you. I appreciate that, and continue to look at that. Those numbers are in the Stericycle report, so it's easy for me to look at. I just have to remember to do so.
Thank you, Conrad. That's a lot of good information.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioner Keating.
Thank you, Conrad, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next item then.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
That the next item is update on the Ada County Solid Waste Advisory Committee. It met this afternoon, its third quarter meeting. And so quickly kind of going through the items that were discussed. The weight-based rate was put into effect October 1st. They've had no issues as of yet, but that's only been in force for the last 4 weeks. Of course, that also corresponds to our new rate structure that started October 1st. And certainly if anyone hears any comments about the new rates, we want to know about it. Second, the Ada County landfill went ahead and took over operations up at the landfill on October 1st. They're collecting financial data to see how close the financial data matches their projections, and will give us a better idea of how well it matches at the January meeting. Next item was leachate re-injection up the landfill. They've started injecting leachate in, and while there's not much to report directly on that, there should be some good information going forward, whether it's affecting landfill gas production or other aspects of the landfill. On D, on the, they went ahead and reported that they had received, well, that the DEQ and the Central Health District had been up investigating a reported issue at the landfill. There had been some identification of some leachate seeping and possibly a potential path for how the leachate is getting down through the system. And they've made numerous changes, and the Department of Health has signed off that the issue has been resolved. That there was discussion that that'll be forwarded to us, or at least me. If it is, then I will get that into our record so that we know what has occurred up there. Next on it was on the waste stream analysis, and the county reported that that had been delayed because the contractor had some family issues that required them not to be able to finish that report, but it will be out soon. We'll go ahead and forward that report out to all members so that you can glean as much information that comes out on a county-wide view. I don't know if there's much that'll actually reflect directly back to Meridian, but the county reported that they've initiated their education and outreach program and have been working with the school districts. Then they presented their, well, the next item was the cost of services study, which they made available late today to us. At this point, myself and Tom will go ahead and look through it and see if there's any information to respond to. And so, commissioners, I'm curious, would you like to go ahead and see that cost data or just have a report on it when we finally get a review of it?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to see the raw data as it comes in.
Mr. Chair, I would also.
Okay, let me go ahead and make it available, and then Tom, does that need to be part of our package for the next meeting, or can we send it out in sooner?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think that would be a better question for Mr. Neri, just if we're talking about the legality of sharing that information.
You're on mute.
I missed, where was the information coming from?
The county has provided to us some operational financial information.
I can't believe it's not a public record because they wouldn't give it to us. There's no confidentiality between governmental agencies. So I'd like to look at it first, but I can't fathom that it's not a public record.
Very good. Tom, can you go ahead and provide that to Bill?
Yes, Bill, I'll forward that to you after the meeting. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it has to be a public record, but I can verify that.
Okay, next. We had an item on the landfill gas update, and they're still having discussions about that. In particular, I think they're starting to recognize that just forwarding the gas to Intermountain Natural Gas might be a better process than electricity generation. And so they're doing some very detailed costing to figure out if it makes financial sense to do that too. But they did report out that the quality of the gas that's coming off of that they're collecting is improving. Higher methane content from 42 to 47%, and a reduction in nitrogen from 17 to 14%. So indeed, it does sound like it is getting better. But we'll get more information on that subject as soon as they put the analysis together. They did next go ahead and identify that they had received some odor complaints. There was discussion about that. And I think that's just something they're going to have to go ahead and work a little bit harder at. And they went ahead and moved into city updates at that point. I went ahead and kind of asked such that it would be on the record that it had been asked about a conversation which we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago from the county, asking us about our opinions about the fall leaf collection. At present, there is no charge when the leaves are delivered up at the landfill. But during the rate review last January, the county commissioners had discussed trying to do away with any program that was subsidized. Fortunately, though, after review, the county went ahead and decided to continue the no-cost receipt of leaves. But the mere fact that it has been reviewed is something we need to be aware of. I'm a little worried about what may come up in January when they propose the fee structure for 2022. And so the reality of that, of course, is that our subcommittee on the waste management plan should be looking at the best way to handle all the materials our citizens produce. Next, they discussed a quick, they discussed the fact that there's been a number of incidents over the last month or two, last few months, of batteries ending up in pretty much every stream, in the orange bag program, in some recycling, and in some of the organic materials that have initiated fires. A couple of fires have been initiated within the trucks, and concerns about that, well, more fires occurring in. So there's a great deal of material that's being produced reminding citizens not to put batteries in anything, whether it be the trash cans, the recycle bins, and I should say, the conversation immediately pointed to lithium-ion batteries. So in particular, not having lithium-ion batteries in our recycle and any of the organic material streams like leaves or whatever else. Like, don't know how they managed to get in there, but just that the citizens need to redouble their efforts to make sure that the batteries don't get in the streams. There was a discussion that the county is issuing its strategic management plan. Soon they'll forward that to us, to me or to us. And once that happens, I'll go ahead and forward that also to everyone for their review. And then finally, there was a quick discussion about a successful project over at the Canyon County landfill to divert some sheetrock. And again, this is an item that I will defer to our waste management plan group to see whether it is something that is worthy of pursuit. And with that, I will, if there's any questions about what's going on with the county, I will do my best to answer them.
Mr. Chair, I noted that you had several items related to our 5-year plan or our roadmap. And we've been without a meeting for several months. Do we have a need to adjourn that meeting or have another meeting to kind of catch us back up this year? Is that a question for Tom?
Yeah, Tom, can you address whether it, as far as what's going on with the waste management plan committee and reconvening or whatever?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. As far as staff are concerned, we've got the roadmap mapped out by the subcommittee on exactly where we need to go with all waste types. We're waiting to get results from the waste stream analysis. We'll see what Ada County gives us, and that will determine whether or not we need to look at doing a city-owned waste stream analysis. But until the waste stream analysis is completed, we don't have all the information we need to be able to fully determine everything. And I just very briefly want to touch on the battery topic as well. Alkaline batteries generally are fine to put in your trash. It's lithium ion batteries and highly reactive batteries you want to avoid, but alkaline batteries generally are not going to be the things that are starting fires. You can also take those alkaline batteries to HHW though, just for some clarification on batteries.
Thank you. Commissioner Nelson, did that kind of give you some thoughts about where we may be going?
Yes, thank you. And then I wonder about the batteries also. I have the orange battery collecting bag, I don't know if we get those out much anymore, but I've returned those to a HHW site, and normally they just kind of hand the alkaline batteries back to you. But maybe people just don't understand how to tell the difference. I don't know if people can tell. And that's how they're getting the waste stream. I don't know if there's any input on that, but it's kind of concerning since they seem to be involved in a lot of those fires, right? And I know there's a big push on the 9 volts to make sure they're taped before you trash them and those sorts of things. But surprised to hear that's become such a big issue lately.
Mr. Chair. Commissioner Nelson, usually the fires are a result of batteries that are reacting when they're ruptured. So that's why lithium ion batteries do that. When they react with the oxygen in the air, they essentially start a fire. Alkaline batteries, when ruptured, usually will just put out some acid, which can definitely cause some issues, but generally they don't explode. So that's why we want to keep lithium ion batteries out of your nickel cadmium and lithium ion batteries like that, out of the waste stream. Whereas just regular alkaline batteries generally are not dangerous to throw away.
Thank you.
Other members of the commission, is there any additional comments or questions? Very good. Then we'll move on to the next couple of items, which actually have been discussed already. The Ada County landfill cost of services study, as mentioned. I'm going to make sure that Bill Neri has a chance to look at it, and as long as there's no issues, then we'll go ahead and figure out how to present that to everyone so you know the best information possible. And then the next item, the waste characterization study, again, though delayed, it should be out fairly soon. And as Tom mentioned, then that'll work back into the waste management plan report. And that completes the business that's on our agenda. Are there any other items that should be brought before the commission at this time? Tom? Oh, I'm sorry, I went right over the top of something. The Hefty Energy Bag Program update. The reason that this hit the agenda is that we had an agreement through Boise, with Boise, through them back to the Hefty Energy Bag Program, which has hit its expiration date. And so it's timely for us to go ahead and consider the program. Obviously, the program need not take any resources from Meridian from Meridian. Anyone in the valley who chooses to go ahead and put their flexible plastics into an orange bag as bought by through Albertsons or one of the other outlets that are selling those bags can do so and put them in their recycle bin, and they are pulled out when we reach the Western recycling and are diverted off to be recovered, or the materials to be recovered. But it does leave us in a position where we have nothing at this particular point, though nothing, well, anyway, I guess what I'm curious about, probably two items from commissioners, if you could advise us on that, on your desire to continue with the program, such as it is without anything, and whether you feel any resources from the city or from the ratepayer should be expended on the program. With that, I will open the floor, and I would appreciate hearing from the commissioners on the subject.
Mr. Chair, just as a clarification, Meridian's continued involvement with the program would mean what exactly? If they were able to buy the orange bags from any participating store and then use them, what would our continued involvement mean?
Tom, why don't you state that, because I think I'm not sure I'm clear on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Cow, our continued involvement would mean that residents can continue to use the program, continue to purchase. There will be no change in service to anyone who wants to continue participating. The only thing that would be changing would be the amount of staff resources that are devoted to education and outreach regarding the program.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question to you. Tom, did you see the life cycle analysis data?
Mr. Chair, ex officio member Klein, yes, I did.
You have me curious. Can I ask what that means?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Nelson, I think that would be an item that would probably be good to share with the commission as a whole. Let me quickly just ask Mr. Neri, Bill, since that came from Dow, is that something to also get cleared with you before I share it with the commission?
Is it related to the hefty energy bag update?
Yes, sir.
Again, generally things people send to us are public records, whether they know it or not, or whether they think it or not. Once they send it to us, it's public. So I'm fine. I mean, if they thought it was not public, did they tell us that?
They did not.
Okay, it's fine. You can share it.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I will send that information out to the commission after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second question then, Mr. Chair, would we like to continue the vote to next meeting so everyone will have a chance to review the life cycle analysis?
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Do I need to make a motion to that effect, or are we okay?
Bill, can I just declare that?
I missed it. I'm sorry. I had a hard time hearing. What was it?
If we're going to continue the issue until the next meeting, can I just declare that, or does that have to be voted? Does the committee have to go ahead and vote that it be continued?
It's perfectly fine. I mean, we can make a note to add it to the next agenda. That's okay.
Okay. And just from a Robert's Rules of Order, what I would do at this particular point is, without objection from the commission, we will go ahead and continue this subject on to the next meeting. Are there any objections to continuing this on to the next meeting? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do that. I don't want that to go ahead and shut off the conversation if there's something that needs to be presented now, but obviously you'll have a chance to pick this subject up at the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question, I guess, for Tom. I don't know if anyone has heard back. We partnered with Meridian Anti-Drug Coalition and DEA to host a drug take-back event at our transfer station, but I didn't hear the results. I didn't know, Tom, if you had connected with Meridian PD to get those results from last weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Client, I haven't actually gotten the results yet, but I know that we are able to get that data and we will get it shortly, I hope.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Strader.
While we're on the topic of potential future meeting topics, I would love us to set aside some time on a future agenda to talk about the city survey results. I just had those forwarded to Rochelle and you were copied on it. And it showed some interesting results. So I would like to give everyone time to look at that and maybe come up with some theories and next steps and then talk about that on a future agenda, please.
It's more than appropriate to me. I'm also a little bit remiss to make sure that the commission knows we really stepped up leaf activities this fall, above and beyond the curbside activity. There's going to be some drop-off sites at some parks and such. There was going to be a Facebook event on leaves. Is that November 1st?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That occurred yesterday at noon. The recording is on Facebook, though. If you go to the Meridian Trash Talk Facebook page, sign up to become a member, you can view that recording. It's also going to be on the city's main page on Facebook.
And I believe a good deal of the information was in a billing insert for the last utility billing.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chair. It's also currently available on our website, meridiancity.org/trash talk.
So,
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to kind of comment that I always deliver all my leaves. I get my leaves a month before curb pickup, it seems like. And I found it a lot easier this year, it seems like, than past years to just get straight to that information related to leaves. And for whatever reason, it seemed like it was fewer clicks and the search seemed to work a little bit better. I always kind of test that before I tell other people to go out there. But it seems, I thought it was a lot easier to find for some reason. A good reason, I would assume, but appreciate the city kind of maturing those sites over time.
okay, are there further items which should be brought before the commission at this time?
Mr. Chair, I have two questions. I'm just kind of verifying, one, that our next meeting is really January, and we're skipping November and December. I missed last month's meeting, so I might have missed some of that conversation. And the other is an update on the recycle a bicycle, or how I also missed that discussion last month, and see what we can make any progress.
I can address the first item, which is we don't really have anything in particular that hits us during the next 2 months. So I think we can go ahead and forego the November and December meetings for the holidays, since it'll be a little difficult to put those into the schedule. And also with all the COVID stuff, it's probably nice to take a bit of a break. As to the second one on recycle a bicycle, refresh my memory, Tom. I can't remember what.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Nelson, we were waiting on the Recycle a Bicycle Committee Chair to determine whether or not we wanted to assign the event to another city event, although a lot of those aren't happening with COVID, or if we wanted to try to coordinate with Republic Services to find a different way to find people who needed the bicycles and deliver them outside of our normal at an event thing. That determination had not yet been made.
I guess I would ask Commissioner Keating if we had a conversation about that, or do we need to?
So,
or am I the subcommittee chair? I can't remember, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure either, but Rochelle and I communicated with the library, Meridian Library, and they also have bikes. And we're at the moment with the topics of when it's appropriate to hand out the bikes and what kind of events to our next of we're talking about who needs the bikes and how to give them appropriately. And then Rochelle also reached out and talked to the schools that along those lines of when and how to deliver the bikes. And so
okay, and then in previous years, of course, we had a website that they would log on to and give us a gender and size and those sorts of things. And so, but we had other events that they were kind of tied to. So I don't know if we can kind of still do that, and it becomes a little more complicated. It would be more of a coordinated effort to have a bike available in a place that a particular person, or maybe we restrict how many we deliver or make available on a given day, so we don't violate any COVID standards. But I don't know if we could have that conversation a little bit offline the next week or two.
Commissioner Nelson and Commissioner Keating and Mr. Chairman, yes, let's take it offline, because I also reached out to the VA, and they have a whole homeless group that they have, a homeless support group, homeless support team at the VA working to help these men and women. And so they reached out to us and said, can we do something with you? So I think the libraries have really been really restricted in who they see, and the schools have been really restricted in how they're teaching. And so our traditional channels have been really, I guess they've just really been stymied. So if the three of us can maybe meet, I can send out an email, maybe the three of us can meet and we can follow up on, maybe bring back to the SWAC some ideas on what we can do during this pandemic, because it's really changed things up for sure. And maybe we can get together and even fix, like do some repair dates where we just get bikes ready. So when they do say we need 20 adult mountain bikes or something where the bikes are ready to go. So maybe I can reach out when the three of us can meet offline and come up with a plan.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we're getting very far afield from future meeting topics, so we probably do need to take it offline and then bring it back as a discussion item at your future meeting.
Thank you.
Yep, sounds good. We will follow up.
Okay, so as a third mention, are there any further items which need to be brought before the commission at this time? Very good. Again, our next meeting is January 27th, and having completed all the tasks that are on our agenda, I will go ahead and call the meeting adjourned. It is now 2 minutes after 5. Thank you for your participation.